Welcome back to day 2 of Case IH Morning Show live from the World Ag Expo in Tulare, California. And today is the day of love. It's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, Natalie.
I know. And happy Valentine's Day to everyone at home.
No one I'd rather be spending Valentine's Day with than all of you guys. So yes, as we said, we are here at Case IH. So I feel like today is the perfect day for Valentine's Day, the day of red.
I know there could not be a more fitting holiday for Case IH. They deliver the red on Valentine's Day. They put the red in Valentine's Day, even though there's not a red in it. If there was, Case would do it. If you missed yesterday's show, we are your hosts. I am Natalie. I am a cattle rancher from central Nebraska.
And I'm Tara, a dairy farmer from eastern New Mexico. And together we host the Discover Ag podcast, where every Thursday we cover the top trending articles in the ag and food space, and we discover what's new in the world of ag and food.
We're kind of like a Mike Rowe's Dirty Jobs meets food and farming with a female millennial agricultural twist.
Exactly. Perfectly well said.
Clear as mud.
Yeah. And as your host here today at the World Ag Expo, our job is to bring you everything we are seeing around us here at the Case IH booth, as well as at the World Ag Expo in general. And so you guys are all at home, so we're going to try to bring you as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, we know not everyone is able to attend events like this. They are, the World Ag Expo comes highly recommended. Whether you've been here or not, it's probably on your list. You've probably heard of it. And if you cannot get away from your operations, but have always wondered what goes on here, this is the morning show for you. Case IH really wanted to try and make all of their Case family member feel involved at the expo today, and that is our job. That is what we did. There's actually a video up yesterday. Today is day 2 of the live morning show. And if you missed yesterday's video, you can go back and watch it. We have some really great stuff. We introduced the Case IH Grade 8 Battle of the Reds Tractor Showdown. And what we did is paired 8 different Case IH tractors against each other in a bracket style format, and had you guys at home vote on the video. You had the capability to weigh in and pick your favorites. We had everyone who attended the Case IH booth yesterday vote and pick their favorites, and we'll be moving them on to the final 4 today. So that is coming later on in the show. We also interviewed Case IH experts yesterday on tractor specialization here, kind of some specific things to California producers, which was interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing here at the World Ag Expo is how diverse the agriculture is. We've been talking about this last night and even going into this morning that, when you go to a Midwest farm show, I feel like it is a lot more like row crops, a lot more cattle. And here in California, they're doing all the things. And so there is a lot of specialty tractors. And so we had Nick and Terry on yesterday to talk all about those specialty tractors. And today we are bringing on Brian later in the show to talk about Baler Automation.
Other things we did on the video yesterday was covered some Case IH history and facts. So if you consider yourself kind of like a Case IH history buff, I think you would enjoy tuning in and hearing some of the things we had to say about, each of those 8 tractors. We kind of went through some fun things about when Case rolled them out, maybe some historical facts that maybe you knew and maybe you didn't. And so it'd be fun to get your guys' take on the Case IH history information we shared yesterday too.
Yeah, and if you guys are on Instagram, there's some great videos over there. We had a lot of fun interviewing people. We were definitely like a little harassing the people of Case IH. If you're at the expo, fear not though. We asked very easy questions.
No one was safe. If you stepped foot on the Case IH lot yesterday, you were invited to participate in some of the content creation, which some people loved.
Some people loved.
Some people did not love. And
some
that's
people
okay.
did not.
It was interesting to see the different generations take, I think, on, 2 young women coming up and asking to create a video with them in it. You had younger generations that were maybe a little more apt, older generations that maybe weren't. But I will say, I am proud of the way the older generation turned out yesterday and kind of supported Case IH and gave their testimonies. We had a lot of people weigh in on, we were asking them to choose the tractors, but we're also asking, some of their best advice from farming, things they would give younger generation. And it was fun to hear a lot of that information too.
Yeah. And we got some really incredible stories. So there's one family that we ended up talking with for a while. It was 3 brothers. They're actually 3 of 5 brothers. And they were telling us all about their favorite Case tractors and how many different tractors they use. Several of them were involved in farming. One was a mechanic. Like, it was so cool to learn about their family history because they actually have been farming in California since the 1800s. And they actually pulled up a photo of their great grandfather. I don't know how many greats there were. There was a lot of greats in there. And he was harvesting wheat with a 28 horse pulled wheat harvester. It was crazy. And I feel like just standing in the Case IH booth talking with someone about farming in the 1800s here in California was just like a full circle moment to think. Like we were discussing, when you're done with your tractor, like you give her a little maintenance, you fill her up with some diesel. If it's electric, you plug it in. But can you imagine getting done harvesting and being like, now I need to take care of 28 horses?
Yeah, it was really amazing to talk with them and see that photo. It reminded me there's an older farmer in our area, central Nebraska, who personally has worked with both. He's, I know, over 85, 86, 87, somewhere around there. So he remembers working as a kid with horse and plow, like out in the field. And now to go to the other kind of horse, horsepower. It's just amazing what some of agriculture has seen in their lifetime in this profession. It was also really neat because one of the brothers that we spoke with was a beekeeper himself. Yes. And right now in California, they are on the cusp of the almond orchards blooming. I have yet to see one. I have seen one in photos. I have always wanted to see an in-person bloom. I think they are gorgeous, and we can start to see what we're talking about. They are
literally about to bloom, like any second. Everyone keeps telling us probably by Friday. That's what we keep hearing. And we're like, please, we leave on Thursday. So we'll bring it back to you tomorrow if we see any bloom. But I think there's going to be a couple blooming by tomorrow. But
I wanted to give a shout out to anyone who is maybe tuning in that is also a beekeeper, because if you did not know, beekeepers are required to pollinate for the bloom. And so if you're eating an almond, it is thanks to not only an almond farmer, but also to a beekeeper. And I think bees are just a little unrecognized when it comes to the agriculture industry. And they're such a key component to our food supply as a nation. And so I wanted to give a special shout out to any beekeepers that may possibly be watching and tuning into the live show this morning.
So beyond everyone that we met here at the Case IH booth, I drug you around, and no surprise, as I said, dairy farmer. So we went to the Farm Credit Dairy Barn, drug Natalie through that barn kicking and screaming. It wasn't as bad as you thought it would be.
No, I have come to appreciate the dairy industry much more since joining up with my co-host here for our podcast. I know there's dairy in Nebraska. I know it exists.
We found
I see you guys.
a Nebraska dairy booth, and we're definitely hitting it up today because Natalie needs to learn more about Nebraska dairy.
But I was raised in Montana. I live in Nebraska now, so dairy isn't something I see every day. But that's the whole fun of these farm shows. That's what we're talking about. And why I think that's why people love coming too, is like they get to see the things that they are expecting and they want the information on, the things they need for their own operations information. You get to check out the equipment, but you get exposed to how diverse agriculture is. And I think that's the beautiful thing about being a part of agriculture is we are so unified and we have so much in common, but we're also so different.
All right. Enough with what's happening here at Case. We'll get more into what's happening later today, where we'll be. But for now, I know you guys are dying to know what happened with the Grade 8, a Battle of the Reds. And let me tell you, we're talking about actual horsepower. Horsepower was a big topic of conversation, especially between the Magnum and the Steiger. Like, people came out for the Steiger. I was honestly expecting the Magnum to win. I just went into yesterday being like, that's what's going to win. No, let's just say, let's break the news right now. First one, Magnum versus the Steiger. The Steiger just crushed it, and it was all about the horsepower.
On the day of love, we have to say the Steiger got the most love.
Most love. But there was no questions asked. It got the most love out of all of the tractors we talked about.
Someone described it as more horsepower, more acreage. And I thought that was a good way to...
There was some conversation actually in some of the comments that said, like, I'm a smaller farm, so less acreage. So I really love the Magnum and what it can do for me. And then he said, but I acknowledge that if you are plowing through acres, you're going to want the Steiger.
Moving to the Farmall, we pitted the Farmall up against the Farmall Electric.
This one was no surprise. Yeah. The history of the Farmall came through. People love the historic Farmall and the way it is, but there was still good conversation around the electric as well. But it was, again, the clear choice was the classic Farmall.
And if you guys have questions about the electric, now would be a good time to drop them in the video. We have people standing by to answer some of those questions. If you are going to be at the expo, we should count how many tractors they have here. There are a lot out.
A lot of tractors.
There's a lot of tractors on the lot. But we're sitting right next to the electric Farmall. So she's pretty, you guys. She's a beaut.
She's a beaut. As if you follow my husband on Facebook, he would say she's a beaut. It's his favorite way to describe Farmall.
She's a beaut.
All right. Next lineup was the Puma versus the Optum. Do you want to announce those results?
I do, because in yesterday's video, I talked about how on our operation, we're just cattle ranchers. So we have very minimal equipment. We lease a lot of our farm ground out. My husband is much better at cattle than he is at crops. And he would admit that as well as I. So our tractor is a Puma, though. And he loves it. He talks about how it's been hooked up to the feeding wagon, and that's what it does every day. It goes to work for us in the capacity we need to when we go to feeding cattle. And it's dependable and it's reliable and it shows up. And it was the same answer from a lot of people when it came to the Puma versus the Optimum. So I was happy to see the Puma move on in today's top 4.
All right. The last one rounding this out is the Maxim versus the Vestrum. And the winner was the Maxim. And that was also like definitely coming in strong with the Maxim. People loved her.
Yep. So if you guys want to get involved in the voting today, as a reminder, we will be putting
We're going to be putting them, the Steiger against the Puma and the Maxim against the Farmall. So that is your bracket now. So you've got only 2. You got to pick your top 2 in those categories.
And then we'll do the final challenge tomorrow. And you guys will have a vote to that to see which one comes out of the Case IH Great 8 Battle of the Reds Tractor Showdown. It's a mouthful.
It really is.
We're getting good at saying it though.
Man, if I'm a betting woman, trying to think what I'd bet.
Steiger.
I feel like it's going to come down to the Steiger of the Farmall.
Ah, my poor Puma.
Your Puma's
we had a good run.
I'm sorry. It's out.
It's going to be out. That is our prediction.
That's my prediction is tomorrow we're going to be coming back to you guys with the Steiger and the Farmall.
I think that's what we'll see too.
Based on conversation.
All right. Should we move into, as we mentioned yesterday, we had a interview with the Case IH expert. We actually had 2. It was double the fun. And it was on specialty tractors. And today we get to do Baler Automation. Should we move into that?
Yeah. Let's bring Brian on
right.
board. All right. Well, we are joined with Brian today. Thank you so much for coming on, joining the Discover Ag podcast, and joining our live Case IH morning show and talking with us today all about Baler Automation.
Glad to be here.
Why don't we start off with hearing a little bit more about yourself and your role with Case IH?
Sure. Brian Spencer. I'm the hay and forage marketing manager for Case IH North America. Been with the company. This is my 28th year.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Where are you located out of?
I'm out of Wisconsin. I'm out of the
so
Racine
a
office.
fellow Midwest who was transplanted here into California to hold our own.
Originally from Indiana, family farms down there. So
awesome. Well, thank you for telling us a little bit about yourself. So we are here, obviously, at the World Ag Expo. We've been talking about how many different pieces of equipment are on site at our booth here at Case IH. You guys have a ton, but one of them is the Baler Automation. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's a new feature available for our large square balers. Autonomy, automation has been
all the rage.
Been the buzzword for several years now. So what we're launching is a new concept, not using new technology, using existing technology. We've had some form of automation on our balers for several years now. On the round baler side, we've had a form of tractor baler automation where once the bale is made, the baler will actually stop the tractor, apply the net wrap, open and close the tailgate, ejecting the bale, and the operator didn't touch a thing. So no clutching, no braking, no grabbing, a hydraulic remote. So on large squares, we've had a form of automation called feed rate control, where the baler controls the speed of the tractor based on the amount of material coming into the baler. This new feature that we're launching this year is next level, next generation. It's hands-free baling. So guidance, essentially. Guidance has been accepted in agriculture for several years, right? For tillage, planting, spraying, harvesting, and so forth. Not so much with baling because the satellite doesn't know where the windrow is. It's not using, okay, I got to get over 60 feet because that's my next pass. The windrow could be anywhere based on how many times it was touched or merged or so forth. So we're introducing LiDAR technology on the baler. LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging.
So before we get into the LiDAR, I do want to ask you, you've obviously been walking around showing people, getting people's reaction when having these conversations here. What has been people's reaction to the new automation?
They kind of scratch their heads for a minute and like, wow, that'd be great. I can get in here and, let go of the steering wheel, and I got other things I can be doing. Phone's always ringing. I got, my monitors going on here. I can handle more of my farm business while the tractor is doing its own thing.
I do think we've come a long way with the idea of technology. And I think sometimes we can be a little maybe against it at the beginning. And then when we start realizing how beneficial it can be, it's like, sign me up. Where can we get this for our operation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole thing 15, 20 years ago when we started talking about yield monitors and and guidance and stuff. They're like, I'll never do that. And now it's like they hop in a tractor and it's like, I would never drive a tractor without guidance.
Well, and one of the things we actually talked about yesterday with Nick was, labor. And so you're saying that farmers can then be in their tractor. They can essentially be doing two things at one time. They can be running their tractor, but also like handling the business side of the farm, whether it's answering the phone or calling people or whatever else they need to be doing. And so that is like a really amazing thing when you think about kind of some of our labor issues.
Yeah. So with this feature, what it allows an operator to do, it basically takes the operator out of the bale making process. So you can put a less experienced operator or less confident operator in the cab of that tractor, and he's gonna be more productive, more bales per hour, more bales per day. So your cost per bale goes down. A seasoned veteran is going to jump in that and just let go of the steering wheel, and he's going to have a great day.
Yeah.
So
it's a great day.
Yeah. So the LiDAR technology, light detection and ranging, it's not new technology. It's a new application for it. They're using LiDAR technology in topography. They're discovering new cities in the jungles of South America using LiDAR. So the sensor mounts on top of the cab of the tractor, and it shoots lasers in front of the tractor, and it measures the position and volume of the hay. And it's going to steer according to the position of the hay. And then the feed rate control is going to control the speed of the tractor. So, if you've got pivots, you're just constantly going around in a circle, hey, let go of the steering wheel. If you got a lot of crooked fields or something, let go of the steering wheel, and it's going to find a...
So is this something that could be attached to any tractor and baler, or is it fit for specific ones? Or like how does that look for producers?
Well, most of our large square balers are pulled by the larger tractors. So it has to have the steering control, the implement steering control available. So it'd be like our Pumas, Optims, Magnums, and so forth.
And it is for just square bales.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it'll work on any of our balers since about 2020 on the high density side, and since about 2022 on our regular balers.
That's really cool that it can be like added to, your newer models that you have already out there, like added to your existing system.
It's just a parts kit that we'll install on top of the tractor, and then, wire it up and you're good to go.
Yeah. Cause conversation everywhere, anywhere, anytime is always going to be like input costs, right? Mm-hmm. And we talk a lot about this on our podcast when it comes to like progression and advancement and the things we're requiring and asking of our farmers, to, whether it's like increase yields or like to be more sustainable in a lot of different ways. A lot of times we have to think about that input cost with the return. And this sounds like a really pretty easy way for a farmer to like step into this change for their operation.
Yeah. Especially with an inexperienced operator, right?
Yep.
So labor's tough. Find somebody that's got any experience is really tough. So if he's less capable or less confident, right? This baler's going to take over, and we're going to drop very consistent bales as far as length and weight. So that's better for handling, loading the trailer, stacking in the barn, retail opportunities. If every bale's the same length, the same weight, that's great. Feed ration mixing. If every bale's the same weight every time, very close, I can just drop it in the TMR and go. So, yeah.
So in addition to the LiDAR, what other technology can we see coming out of the Baler Automation?
Well, with the telematics that we've got on board the tractor, what that allows us to do is to pull the data out of the baler, all the bale drop data, send it up to the cloud. And then we can manage that through our AFS Connect portal with our phone, our tablet, our desktop. So at the end of the day, I could go in and see that field. What did my operators do today? I can go to this field. I can see all the bales. I can click on it. A single bale will tell me what time it was baled, how much it weighed, what the moisture was, how many flakes were in it. Then at the end of the day, I can roll that all up and see, I've got 242 bales in this field. I got to go chase. I can call my broker. Hey, here's what I've got for sale. Here's my total tonnage. What are you going to give me? I know who I have to send to the field to go pick that up. How many trips I'm going to have to make to pick that up. So,
my husband, when we had the Magnum on site this fall when we were planting, he got to play around with the AFS Connect because when he was showing it to me, I was like, yeah, this feels like a video game a little bit. Like it felt very like technology savvy, but he was having a ton of fun with it, of being able to see exactly what it could do and just how much information it can give you, at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, one of the operators we were running with this summer in eastern Idaho. So he had 3 large square balers. We had the one with the LiDAR that we were running, and they had 2 in the field that didn't have the LiDAR. So with the AFS Connect, what he could do, he had an additional monitor wired up in the cab that was mirroring those other balers in the field. So he didn't have to pay attention to the steering because the tractor was doing that for him. So he could follow those other balers in the field to make sure everything was working well and see what was going on and managing his operation. Right. So,
Well, and just going back to progress too, I mean, in order to make any of these advancements, like data is so important. We need the data, to like Tara talked about how fun it is for us to go out there and to see the numbers. But like at the end of the year too, when you go to like crunch and return and like make, decisions for the next year, it's so important that you have all that data that you can start making like better informed decisions on for your operation too.
true. It's the information age, whether we're going to use it or not, people want that data.
Yeah, they want it all.
I just want to see it. I'm never going to use it again, but gosh, I want to see it today.
I know. I was thinking that when you were talking about some of the capabilities, I thought, oh gosh, that sounds a little intimidating. And then I remember, we have a pretty big area producer around us who does a lot of farming. And I like to bring my littles. I have, 3 boys, a boy and mom, and I have 2 pretty young ones. And so I like to kind of bring them out and ride along with him. And I remember stepping in one of his, higher, more expensive tractors and just being like, this is what you operate every day. Like farmers do not get enough credit for how technologically advanced they probably have to be nowadays to run a lot of the equipment.
Yeah. And some of these features, people get intimidated, but sometimes it's just a simple on and off.
Yeah.
Like this Baler Automation. It is
You're
not hard to use.
Just restarted, like reboot.
No, getting into the Magnum, the brand new 2023 Magnum. And yeah, you're seeing all this technology. It feels like you're almost like in a jet. And at the exact same time, you still had the bunny and, the fast slow
rabbit turtle.
It was like very obvious there.
Yeah. People don't realize how complicated it is, but sometimes how easy it can be.
Right.
Well, and I think that's one of the things about Case IH. Like you guys stand for the fact that Case IH is built by farmers. And I think that goes into exactly this conversation as well. There is a lot of technology. It's built by people who understand what farmers are looking for, who are farmers themselves and are actually using it. So it's done right.
Yeah, it's so true. You go to a farm show and talk to our people on the lot, and how many of us grew up on a farm, whose family operations still farm, who still farm with their families, but also work for Case IH. I mean, our families farm hundreds of thousands of millions of acres a year. We raise thousands of cattle. My family farms in South Central Indiana, and my brothers run the farm. So, I hear it all the time. I'm the black sheep of the family. I went to the corporate world, so they run the farm. But I hear exactly what's going on. So we walk the walk and we talk the talk. And another interesting thing about Case IH, 2/3 of our employees are field based. We're not in some office in some downtown somewhere. That puts us closer to our dealers, closer to our customers, whether it's credit or support or just anything out there. We've got the people in the field.
I love that statistic. Thank you for sharing it. And I was going to say, thinking back, we've had the opportunity to interview a lot of different Case IH family members, experts on the podcast. And I think every single one of them, I think it's 100% right. Every single one of them has come from agriculture.
Yep. And still has that family tie, like you said, whether it's an uncle, a brother, somebody is still in the farm that gives you that direct access. And then talking about the location, I mean, yeah, our Case IH dealer is, a couple miles down the road, like just being able to just pop in there, even in our small town, and be able to talk with them is just so valuable.
Getting back to Baler Automation, if you guys are at home and you have questions about this, please feel free to drop them. We're going to try and ask a couple more specific ones here. But if there's anything top of mind for you that you're curious about, please feel free to put them in the comments, and the Case IH team will get back to you. But I am curious, a lot of producers are going to be wondering, like, what challenges does this Baler Automation what solutions do they provide to the challenges they're facing?
Productivity, with the feed rate control turned on, most operators are going to, when they bale, they're just going to set a speed and forget it. If I see a thin area of the windrow, I'm just going to not do anything. I'm just going to let it go through there. With the feed rate controlling the speed, you set a maximum speed, for EZs. We're say it's 10 miles per hour. And that baler is going to push that tractor to get to that 10 mile an hour whenever it has the chance to, based on the amount of material coming in. So your bale productivity per hour per day goes up. So your cost per bale goes down. The consistency of the bales is going to drop. Is greatly improved. So there's a lot behind the scenes that most people don't understand, other than just having a good day in the tractor, because I'm not steering.
Yeah. So I asked you what people's reaction here at the farm show was, but what are some of the reactions from farmers using this? What are some of the testimonials could we maybe hear about what people think of it?
Yeah. So the operators that ran it this summer were very impressed, and they mirrored everything that I said. I had other balers in the field, and with this on, the tractor was actually producing more bales per hour per day. And so it just made for a more comfortable day. I'm not fighting the steering wheel. Oh, I got to get over here. I got to get over here because there's also sensors inside the baler to tell me to steer left or right to make sure that it's filling properly. So I got to pay attention to that. I got to pay attention to where the hay is. I got to pay attention to the speed. Oh, here's a clump, a heavy low spot in the field where the hay was thicker. So I got to slow down. Baler takes that and does it all for them. So.
You mentioned you guys trialed it in Idaho. Did you say an Idaho producer was trialing it? Yeah. Where else did you guys, was it kind of some different areas?
Yeah. It's been in development. We go through a validation process. We got to test it in multiple conditions in multiple countries and continents and stuff. So, if it's winter here, it's summer in Australia. We're bailing down there. So it goes through a rigorous testing to make sure it's going to work right.
Well, I am sure you have piqued the interest of a lot of people watching. I know I'm super interested. I feel like this is some really incredible technology. So for people who want to learn more, want to go dive even deeper, where should they go?
Visit your dealer or go to caseih.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian, so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to talk with you.
Well, I know I say this every time we get done interviewing someone from the Case IH team, but they just have so much to offer, I think, producers. And I know I personally I interview a lot of people that are different equipment we wouldn't use on our operation, but I love hearing about it and learning about it.
Yeah, it is fascinating every single time. And it's just exciting where the industry is going, where we're headed. I just think this is what we're announcing at the 2024, events here at Case IH. Imagine 2030, right? I'm really excited for where we're going and thinking about that ease of use for our farmers and ranchers who are in tractors all day long. I have two brothers who spend a lot of time in tractors, and being able to make their day just a little easier. It's just that mental load at the end of the day. That's what it's about is, the farmers having a little bit easier time. And that's what the automation for me, and that's what I envision for it.
Happy farmer, happy life.
Happy farmer, happy life. Happy Valentine's Day to our farmers.
Yeah, I know.
So as we are drawing in to an end here, don't forget, if you're seeing this and you are at the expo, please swing by the Case IH booth. We will not harass you too bad today. I promise we won't make you make too much content with us. But we are located between O Street and P Street along the South Street. You can't miss us. We have the big, beautiful red tractors everywhere. Big sign that says Case IH. You'll see us.
And there's a lot of people you can ask your questions to. There's a lot of staff members walking around ready to help and assist. It's been so fun to see. I always love seeing the little kiddos climb in and out of the tractors. So if you have a family, I feel like this is such a good time for the kids to come down and get that exposure to farming, especially if kids are interested in it and they don't get to go out on the farm or they're not on a farming family. I feel like events are so good for the youth. And we also have cards we're handing out. So Case IH, of course, has their booth set up where they can do the wheel of spinning, which is always fun. They have apparel you can buy, toys you can buy, and we happen to have little discount cards. So if you are here and you see us,
we have them. Come get some from us.
Yes, come get some from us.
And then Natalie and I are going to be checking out more of the expo today. Little does Natalie know, the dairy is not over. It is Dairy Day here at World Ag Expo. So I'm going to be dragging her to some really great sessions about dairy technology, dairy robotics. I saw some sessions on. There's also, yesterday we mentioned the ice cream and the chocolate making. I feel like today's all about business. There's succession planning. There's some really, really great hardcore business sessions that we might be checking out. And then a lot at the Women's Pavilion again.
Yeah, I feel like the World Ag Expo does have a little bit of everything for everyone. And one thing we haven't talked about is the food too. We had a scrumptious lunch yesterday. Man.
I mean, we are in Central California, so I have eaten all the tri-tip I can possibly get my hands on. The tri-tip nachos, perfection.
All right, you guys. Well, that brings our morning show to an end. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. As a reminder, please drop any questions you have from the interview below. Also, please vote for the top 4.
Vote for your favorite. We're getting down there.
Go back and watch yesterday's video if you missed it. Share this with a friend who you think would enjoy watching it. And then stay tuned because we're coming back to you again tomorrow for a third day.
Our final day.
Yes, with the results, other fun stuff, another interview, just lots of Case IH.
See you guys tomorrow.
Happy Valentine's Day.